Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Green Arrow FPL podcast and Fantasy Football Hub as we look ahead to Game Week 27 with an underwhelming double Game Week 26 seemingly stretching out for weeks on end. My name is Fergi, and as usual, I'm joined by the brilliant Rich Clarke. Rich, how are you? And what colour was your arrow in Game Week 26?
Hi, Fergie. Hi, everyone. I'm afraid it was another red. I think 9 in 10 red now since Christmas. So not a good period. Like many, went all in on Arsenal really for the double. Spent several transfers getting the right three Arsenal before the game week started. Decided to use the triple captain, and we'll come on to that in a minute, I'm sure. But yeah, difficult couple of games. I think the best thing for me about the game week was the break in the middle of it. I think, to be honest,
The FA Cup drama.
Exactly. Looking back on things, I think the reason I'm not feeling too great is I just didn't have anyone who hauled apart from Declan Rice over the two games, who didn't have the armband. So yeah, difficult week for me. And Buemo got a goal, I think. Apart from that, it was all very underwhelming. The Arsenal guys obviously got some points over the two games, some DEFCONs and assists and stuff. But Ekitike blanked, Bruno blanked, Enzo blanked, Wilson blanked. Wilson had to come on because Matty Cash missed the game for me again. Someone that keeps repeatedly not returning during key fixtures that I want him to play in. So there he isn't working out as a pick. And yeah, generally very underwhelming. 60 points, I think it was, after Rice got his extra one. And yeah, another fall down to about 130 odd K, I think it is. So yeah. Not great. How did you get on?
It's not great, but I would also say that 9 reds in 10 weeks and still at 130 odd K, Rich, isn't bad. Is you're managing your blip. Unlike Arsenal, you're managing your blip very well.
Thank you. It's just not been as I think it's gone from don't stop believing to can't stop the bleeding, I think, basically.
Oh, quick violin moment from James Thompson. He's put violins everywhere this week. He put Munoz in for O'Reilly and Shalobar in for VVD. That is absolutely...
Oh, yes, I took out O'Reilly. I know how you feel, mate. I know. O'Reilly,
goodness me.
Again, it's just not someone you can rely on for a pick, but he keeps starting now, but he's starting in midfield. And so give him that. He's going to, he's going to get opportunities, isn't he? So, yeah, maybe got rid of him a bit too quickly, but given the options that there are at left back for City, I just felt I needed to get rid of him. And then, of course, he hauls, and so did Virgil. So
unbelievable, mate.
Unbelievable, isn't it? How did you get on,
mate? Slightly better, not fantastic. 68 points. Same triple captain on Gabriel. I did make an inspired move. I don't even think we talked about this on the pod at all, because was this the midweek game week? I can't think where we looked at a 2 game. I think it was, wasn't it? Was it or not?
It's 2 weeks. We haven't podded for 2 weeks, so we had a gap in the middle. I know that.
Yeah, I took out. Well, I made an inspired move. I took an absolute punt. I really wanted Munoz. I was so high on Munoz because I've owned him earlier in the season, and home to Burnley, home to Wolves. 2 of the best fixtures you're probably going to have, both at home. And Palace had just beaten Brighton away as well, I think, which was quite a surprising result, but shown, a bit of resilience at the back as well. And I just thought Munoz, the kind of player, if he bangs the 12-pointer, 15-pointer, one of those who can really shoot you up. But he is a genuine FPL superstar, Munoz, as we know, right? So I thought, right, I want to get Munoz in, but I couldn't afford him. So I had 2 transfers. So I thought, right, I'll try and get Sarr. And because I really fancied Sarr, but I had a midfield 5. I couldn't afford Tavernier to Sarr because I needed money to upgrade to Munoz. So my only options were to downgrade Haaland or Ekitike to Strand Larsen. Now Strand Larsen, I wasn't sure he was even going to play, but I thought, do you know what, ultimate punt, and I did Ekitike to Strand Larsen to enable the Munoz move. So I will say I lucked out a touch, because if I could have got to Sarr, I probably would have. But I always have this thing when you have a number 9 playing up front for anyone on penalties, they're always there or thereabouts, right? And obviously it came off, which was great. I do think I'm fortunate, but I'll take it. And I've got the Wolves game of him as
Lovely.
well. So he was really
that's
a
worked
difference
out
maker,
really well.
Rich. Yeah, he was really the difference maker for me, because I was same with everything else. Didn't get anything from anywhere aside from obviously Rice, Gabriel, 7.2. We might as well just touch on that now. Actually, just on the Spaff-O-Meter. So we wanna ask the chat. No, Scott has put in a poll already, but how are Gabriel triple captainers feeling about the whole? How are you feeling about it first, Rich?
Well, I think overall over the 2 games, it's a feeling of disappointment. I mean, if those who've been playing as long as we have remember the Sadio Mane days, we remember the Leroy Sane days, and there's probably Harry Kanye, isn't there, as well? So we've had
Harry Kane,
we've had 1 point triple captains before where the guys come on, played 5 minutes, got injured, and gone off. You know, it can go worse than it did, but 7 points is pretty underwhelming in a double game week and very beatable. If we get another double game week outside of game week 33, it'll be very popular for people who've held on to it to play it then. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's worth asking the chat. I think it's worth us talking through whether it's a sort of, a low meh or a high spaff. I don't know. That's where I'm sort of thinking. It's on the borderline between spaff and meh, in my view. But I'm undecided. What do you think?
I agree because and I wonder whether I'm thinking this objectively. I'm probably not, but just so many people played it as well. I think if it was a 4 or 5 pointer, I would say it's definite spam, because when I think of it, I think of a blank, and he hasn't blanked. He's got DEFCON in the one game, and he got an assist. If he hadn't got the assist, 4 points, it would have been absolute spaff, no question. Even 5 points, no question, spaff, gone, done. He hasn't got anything, but he's got a return, and I captained Chris Wood in the first half of the season.
You did.
I triple captained Chris Wood for absolutely nothing. And I can't remember. I think, was it Haaland last year where he got like 5 or 7 or something? And we were just like, oh, maybe 8 points. It's just, sort of a nothingness, really. So I don't feel too bad about it, is what I'm saying. I'm not saying it's a meh, and I'm not saying it's a spaffed, but I don't feel as bad about it as he'd have got 4 or 5 points, because I think we've got a bit of an advantage of it. We've got the 3 to 4 points, because who's to say in the second half of the season, as we've seen, right, when players get injured in the first game or they don't start the second game, they could end up 3 or 4 points. So
get booked or something, end up with a point, can't they? Yeah, absolutely.
This is it. So, I think lots of people. Ian McLaughlin is just a big bin. He's like absolutely spaffed. FPL Omnishambles Ryan says, I spaffed Gabriel triple captain. And interesting stats. James Thompson says it's the lowest 2-match total.
It
7.
is, yeah. I think our friend Charlie Van put out a nice piece of work, didn't he, with all the 2-point cumulative rolling weeks, and he'd never got lower than 8 across 2 game weeks. So he's managed to set himself a new floor with last week. But them's the breaks. Arsenal are certainly on the. If you look at a plus side and you're neutral, then the title race is wide open now. And that means it will go deep in the season. And what a time to play them on Sunday in the North London derby, Fergie.
Exactly that, with a new manager bounce.
Exactly. So it makes the football in general a lot more interesting if someone's not running away with things. So we carry on. It's disappointing. If the chat decides it's a spaff, I'm happy with the final verdict to be a spaff. I think look, Scott's gone for it already. Look.
Yeah, Scott is it.
Stop the count.
Yeah, stop the count, indeed. Yeah. Welcome to everyone in the chat. We haven't been on for a while. Ross Johnson says, afternoon, it could have been a 60-point haul with 3 Arsenal defenders, never triple captain a defender in a double game week again. What were we thinking? And Ian McLaughlin says, even though looking forward to tales of spaff chips, unfortunately, I was one of them. Everyone's calling it spaff, Rich. Mad Dan 87 is in, as is Andrew Savage. He said, I think it's FPL heritage. We triple captained Gabriel. It's really made me laugh. It's important to smile over it. Absolutely. Andrefs Swiatkowski. I've absolutely butchered that name. Hello, amigos. Munoz captain this week. Yeah, so that is an interesting shout. FPL Freddie, 82 points. Well done, Freddie. Graham Miller So I got 87 last week and doing my best to score. I'm in the top 700. Just so nervous I'm making a mistake.
Wow. Have we got anyone in the chat who captained Declan Rice? I know one of my guys that I look after went for Rice instead. I mean, he's got 42, so
yeah,
that's definitely
really
smashed it. So Rice captain as well done. He was the pick.
Definitely.
I think if you did that, and a few people out there in the community did it just to be a little bit different. Maybe they were chasing that kind of thing, but that certainly worked out for some. So well done if you're captain Declan.
Kermit63 is in, as is Brian, John Acon, Lee, Claire, FPL, and many, many more. Thank you so much, everyone. We've had the official Spaff-O-Meter in. There was a vote. Let's have a look. Triple captain Gabrielle spaffed 51%. Mayor 46 is closer than we thought. 72
Much closer, yeah.
But I think it's fair to say spaffed. It's been spaffed.
We'll set a high bar for the rest of the season, Fergie. I think that's what we'll do.
We will run with that. Your mini leagues aren't over yet. You can still join Fantasy Football Hub. You can try a 7-day free trial and start climbing the ranks. Just as Graham Miller in the top 700. Incredible. What a performance that is. But yeah, click the link below. Try Fantasy Football Hub 7 days for absolutely free. FPL Hippie says, my 16-year-old son triple captained Madweke. That was a good shout. What was he my punt? Was he my punt, Rich? I think he might have been. Actually.
He was, yes. He started both games as well.
Didn't he? He did, yeah. Good stuff. Okay, enough of double game week 26, and let's look ahead. So got the lie of the land now, which goes from game week 27, which is upcoming this weekend, up to game week 31, which is up to the international break and the very popular wildcard strategy of 22. We've got Fulham right at the top there, with 3 home games in 5. Bournemouth, Brentford. Some fantastic fixtures upcoming. Villa, Man City, and then Liverpool, and down the bottom Wolves and Arsenal. Down the bottom, Arsenal have got a really tough run now actually, and they obviously blank as well in 31. West Ham, Forest, and Spurs down the bottom. So, Rich, what is your take for this period? I just want to chuck in just before we start. So I've currently now got a Man City player. What have I got? Three Arsenal and 2 Palace.
Yeah.
And I want to bring in another player from one of those teams this week.
Do you? I think I can guess who that is.
So
yeah, okay.
So I just want to. I suppose I want to ask the question, and I'm sure it'll form part of your broader macro answer. Is how important is it to have 11 players out for blank game week 31, and where does this play into your thoughts on choosing players? Because we've been here before.
We have. Well, I mean, I think when Adam used to be on it, Adam would sit here and say, I think it's okay to go with 9 or 10 players in game week 31. Exactly. But I mean, honestly, you've got to be trying to aim to get a full side out, I think, from this far back. If you end up with some unknown injuries and you're going along, maybe not saving transfers, you could arrive in a real mess in game week 31, particularly if you're going to have 6 or 7 blankers, so to speak, in game week 31, and then you get a couple of injuries to blanking players the week before. You could end up free hitting. You can end up forcing yourself to free hit or wild card out of it. So we'll get onto your transfer plans later, but I'm not as exposed as you, but I'm not sure I would be buying a player that I think is likely to blank in 5 weeks' time at this stage, just because I'm just quite cautious, and you don't know what you don't know, so therefore you can't legislate for a player getting injured and having to deal with that. But given over 5 weeks, given the way this season has gone, you're likely to have at least 1, maybe 2 fires to put out before game week 31. So I would take off a transfer off your anticipated bank of transfers that you might have to get ready for that blank, just to deal with a non-issue to do with the blanking. Now, it is worth saying, and we'll get on to the FA Cup in a minute and the European stuff, it is worth saying that there is a small possibility that City and City and Palace do not blank in game week 31. We were discussing this with Mike just before when we're getting ready for the pod. And that is due to European fixtures and possible FA Cup round 5 outcomes that might mean the fixture stays in game week 31. Game week 31 itself, from an elapsed perspective, has 3 weeks to execute before game week 32 starts. I think it is, if that's right. Yes, you could theoretically get game week 31, the international break starting, and that sometime during those 3 weeks before game week 32 starts, you get that City Palace fixture gets rescheduled in the same game week as game week 31. We're only saying it's about a 9 or 10% chance, I think, but it hasn't officially been postponed yet.
Yeah, that's right. I suppose my argument, Rich, playing devil's advocate, just on the point of having 11 out, is what if you can get out 9 or 10 in 31? This is obviously assuming that we're not going to play a free hit in 30. It's important to kind of say, because my argument is, if you look at the teams who have got the sort of best fixtures in 31, so Fulham are home to Burnley, brilliant. Players like Wilson, Anderson, superb. Villa are home to West Ham, even though West Ham have improved massively. Newcastle are home to Sunderland, which is a tough old match anyway. Spurs are home to Forest, but a lot of the bigger teams have got harder games. Chelsea are away to Everton, for example. Liverpool are away to Brighton. That's not an easy game. And I suppose my argument is there are certain players like Munoz, potentially Strand Larsen, potentially Semenyo, and others who have got 5 game weeks in them of, they could easily score 25, 30 points in that week.
Yeah, absolutely.
And instead we could be bringing in
good
some knobhead. Good.
Yeah, absolutely. Or
Cruz
Junior. Yeah, exactly. Those sort of
for a
things.
1-pointer in game week 31.
Yeah.
I suppose that's the devil's advocate sort of argument there. So
what
and I think you're right with what you said earlier, is you're a cautious manager and you prefer to have 11. So maybe it is a kind of profile of kind of of the player. But we've been caught up before with this, and we have this conversation every season, and there are always a run of players who we don't go for because they're blanking in 31. It always seems to be around this 29 or 31 period. They actually go on a really good run, and I think Semenyo is one of those. And I think, like, looking at Man City's fixtures now, home to Newcastle, away to Leeds, home to Forest, away to West Ham. They are a run of 4 fixtures, which is absolutely fantastic. Rich, are you really going to go without Semenyo for that run of fixtures? Just you get Goodmanson in game week 31?
No, I mean, put like that, it does sound rather silly. I mean, the only thing I would say is everyone's going to tally up how many potential blankers they have for that week, and if you're taking out a player that does have a fixture in game week 31 at this point, in order to bring in a player that has a blank, that feels pretty luxe, doesn't it? That feels pretty risky in terms of removing actually increasing your blank player count. Now just feels a bit daft. You might as I don't mind, like I say, a Rice for Semenyo move, because you haven't increased the
the move I'm contemplating. I think.
So, but you don't want to be ignoring how many you've got there and thinking, oh, I'll save next week or I'll save the week after, because you probably won't, because you'll have an injury to deal with. So transfers are very important. And if you are somebody who's already wildcarded, and we have to cover, that section of the community, then you've got not only to think about getting through the blank, you've got to think about getting ready for the doubles and the blank around game week 34, which again we'll cover in a minute. So you've got a lot of things in play here. So why would you sell all your Arsenal and City players when you potentially need to buy them all back again afterwards? So you've got lots of things to think about here, and that may play to your argument.
But that's also a really good point, because I've done that before. I've sold out of players on Wildcard to try and optimize coming weeks, and then realize I'm paying like $1.5 million to buy the same players all back a week or so later. But to your point then, in terms of game week 34 and the likely blank, there was FA Cup on the weekend.
There was.
I think most or all of the big teams won, and most of the teams have avoided uh, tougher matches as well. So there's teams like Chelsea, Liverpool, Man City, Arsenal have all avoided each other, and it makes for some interesting permutations around game week 33 and
It
34, which
does.
is just for those who are who aren't aware. Both Rich and I are on a wild card strategy of 32 to take advantage of this 33 bench boost free hit in 34. Do you just want to kind of run through, Rich, what's happened and what it means?
Well, I think the key thing here to know at the moment is that anyone could blank in game week 34 and anyone could double in game week 33 out of all 20 teams. And you'll see Ben's done a little early graphic below that shows the scenarios, and not a single fixture is guaranteed on in game week 34 at the moment. There are some teams that have gone out of the FA Cup. They're the ones that are in red, but they need the team in green to also go out of the FA Cup before that fixture is cancelled. The other way around. Sorry, you need a team to reach the semi-finals of the FA Cup in order for their game week 34 fixture to potentially be moved into game week 33. Now, at the end of all this, the likely scenario, if let's say the projected better teams win through, is that there are likely to be 4 fixtures that are blank in game week 34 and likely to move to game week 33. Now, they might. To mention another piece of content, there's a brilliant piece of content out there from Planet FPL, a guy called James. Many of you will know him, listen to his stuff. Did a fantastic kind of deep dive into this week. And if you wanted something to listen to when you're walking, put that on. It's a chip strategy pod from James at Planet the FPL. Really, really great piece of work. But he does explore some other scenarios where fixtures may go elsewhere other than game week 33. This is to do with TV scheduling. This is to do with European outcomes, teams reaching latter stages of European competition. So it's not just about the FA Cup. And I'm not going to attempt to replicate James's work here. But, all of this is based on projections. All of this is based on the potential for teams to go through. Now, I think the most likely fixture, from what I've picked up from the content this week, to have a double in game week 33 is going to be Arsenal-Newcastle. I think that is because Arsenal play Mansfield in the FA Cup, and the likelihood of a shock there is very low. However, Newcastle play Manchester City in round 5 of the FA Cup, where you'd have to say that even though it's at Newcastle, City are probably favourites for that game to go through. So therefore, I think there's a 79% chance that Arsenal-Newcastle will go into game week 33. Now, the opposite is possible, and that neither team could double, and the other team could win. But that's the most likely fixture to move. And then in a descending order from there, I think there's a Chelsea Brighton fixture that might move. I think there is there's one or two others. Liverpool, I think, could also double, and I'm not sure of the other one. But the 4 teams that are likely to double in game week 33 are pretty meaty teams. So the game week 33 has the potential to be absolutely incredible from a bench boost perspective. But it also, if there are cup shocks and if there are teams going out of Europe early, it has the potential to be a damp squib as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. And I think we have to play the odds. Obviously, when we're trying to predict the most optimal way to play in FPL, you have to go with what you think is going to happen. It's probably fair to say that Arsenal will very likely beat Mansfield. So Arsenal and Newcastle will almost certainly be a blank in my eyes. Chelsea have got Wrexham. Could be a close-ish game, but if Chelsea have turned up against Cardiff and I think Hull, and they've dispatched them reasonably easily in the Cup, so you'd expect that one as well. Liverpool have got Wolves. Liverpool have suddenly turned it on and playing well, and the other one is Man City and Burnley. if City beat Newcastle, and there's obviously all opinions as well. But if we think of the amount of players that we will likely have in our FPL teams, sort of representative of Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, and Man City, I mean, I can't work it out now, but I'd probably say we'd probably have 8 or 9 of those, if not more, of those. So in terms of trying to roll through game week 30, like firstly prepping for game week 33 to try and maximize those fixtures, then rolling out into game week 34 when none of those teams are going to play, it's going to be incredibly tough. So obviously, like you've mentioned, there are there's a lot of people, that's already been mentioned in the chat actually, that a few of wildcards already, and they have to be thinking about this now. But there's also a strategy to wildcard, maybe even this week or in 28, working on the assumption that those things are going to happen, working on the probabilities, but they can also potentially take advantage of Parma home to Burnley this week, and the fixtures that are going on in real opportunities that are going on before our eyes, which was kind of alluding to earlier, the ones that we don't want to also miss out on. So I think what's brilliant about it all is the diversity in all of it is fantastic, and there is no right or wrong way, and each manager can look at their team and work out what they think is going to work for their team, and also look at their own risk appetite and the way the way they want to play the game, also where they are in the rankings. You probably play it very differently if you're ranked 10k, if you're ranked 4 million as well.
Correct.
So I think it all makes it
it's too late. If you're languishing, it's too late in game week 33 to start making progress. Is it?
It's too late, and you'd also be doing the same as everyone else as well.
Exactly.
So you may want to go a bit different and try and climb. So I think that's the beauty of this whole period, is there simply is no right or wrong answer. And I think but for me, and it sounds like you as well, Rich, will be sort of we decided and committed maybe a few weeks ago to go for this wildcard in 32 strategy. So we've built our teams around this period now, and hopefully we'll be able to navigate through up to 31 with reasonable ranks. And then hopefully that's when we get the rank halvers in game week 33 and 34.
I hope so. I mean, look, there's another key date to mention, which is just after game week 29, the 5th round, the ties you see on the screen now, they will be played that weekend of the 7th and 8th of March. It's not that far away, actually. It's about 3 weeks away.
3 weeks away. Crazy.
Yeah, exactly. So when you get the outcomes of those matches and you get the 6th round draw, you will then be able to predict the outcome of the semi-finalists for the FA Cup. There'll still only be a prediction, but you'll have an idea if there are 4 Premier League teams heading for a semi-final. Let's say, Chelsea, Liverpool, Arsenal, City all avoid each other in that 6th round draw, and they all have easy ties against lower league opposition. Then you could pretty much predict the semi-finals of the FA Cup, and you can pretty much predict those teams will blank in 34 and double in 33, leading to a massive double game week from a strong team perspective. But if the quality of those matches, you might be better off having some of the lower teams, if you're playing to a bench boost, doubling, because their players are cheaper and you can fill your benches more easily and not ruin your starting 11 by trying to create 15 world beaters, if you know what I mean. So there's so many ways that this should go. I would say don't worry about it too much, but if you want to save some transfers in the next few weeks, it's not a bad idea.
Probably wise,
because it will help you the other side of the wild card as well, in terms of like playing the run in. If there is a surprise double, you've just put the Lego Mane graphic up, great. So longer term, you can see here from game week 32, from a point of view of the planning phase, lasts about 3 weeks. It starts on the 21st of March and runs till about the 11th of April. It's got a series of international
3-week wildcard.
You've got a 3-week wildcard. So basically, you've got World Cup playoffs for the European nations who are still trying to get to the World Cup. You've got a round of FA Cup in there. The 6th round, I think it is, of the FA Cup happens then, and you've got a round of two-legged European ties, which sandwich the game week 32 fixtures. So there's a huge amount of football to be played in that break. Now, again, this was a point that James made on his pod, is if you're going to wildcard in game week 32, you might want to wait on that decision until the outcome of those FA Cup matches, which take place. When is that? When does it say they are? The 4th? Is that the 4th of April? 2 weeks into the international break, before you actually commit to pressing the button. Because if there's carnage in that FA Cup and every match is a shock, you don't want a wild card, do you? You want a free hit 33 instead, and you've pressed the wild card button.
And you've also got the added jeopardy around. So I'm just looking, right? So I'll use Arsenal and Man City as an example. Arsenal and Man City, between the dates of the 7th of March and the 14th of April, they play 9. No, that can't be right. No, it's
That
right.
probably is. Yeah.
They play 9 times, right, Rich?
Oh, wow.
In that period. Only two of them are Premier League games.
Right. Wow.
And that all the jeopardy around injuries and all that.
The usual Arsenal jeopardy is terrible anyway, isn't it? Imagine what it's going to be like around then.
That is crazy. Out of those 9 games, 2 of them are FA Cup games for Arsenal and Man City. All the rest are
Europe,
Carabao finals, FA Cup, European matches. It's absolutely mental. So yeah. So
crazy stuff. And it's not just about Arsenal and City as well. You've got Villa going deep in Europe. Potentially they won pretty much won their group top 8 as well. They could go deep in Europa League. Liverpool could go deep in Champions League. They meet around game week 36, I think it is, and they could have a double game week later in the season. We've got potential City Palace fixture that's sitting on the edge of that Lego Mane chart there. That still hasn't been rearranged, so that's not going to happen before game week 31. So that's a double that still has to go in somewhere, and we just don't know where that's going to be. It could yet still stay in 31, as we've explained earlier, but it could move to game week 36, game week 37. It all depends on how those teams get up on in Europe. So we could go on about this for hours about the permutations and combinations.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. So you've got a wild card in your pocket. The best thing to do is just keep it until we get more information, but there will progressively be more information as we go through March and into April. And if you haven't got a wild card, then if you're thinking, should I save this week? I could probably get away with saving, but I might just make that luxury move to tweak this defender up a little bit. I would keep your transfer. I would save it if you can get a decent side out. It's just not maybe perfect this week, but yeah, get your point about Semenyo and others.
We will, yeah, and we'll look at him next. Just to add, we've just had the lineups through for Forest are away to Fenerbahce tonight in Europe, and they are full strength, and Palace are away to Zrinski in Europe, and they are also full strength. So Munoz, Strand Larsen, Sarr,
they always go full strength.
Jesus, they're all playing this evening, so just one to keep an eye on there.
No Mateta.
No Mateta. I should have checked if he was on the bench, actually. Let's just have a quick look, actually, because that might be... where's it gone? Zrinski, Palace. Is Mateta on the bench? This is great.
Great content.
Great content. No, he's not. He's not on the bench, so he's probably not going to be back for a little while.
Yeah.
Say, it secures a Strand Larsen start against Wolves on the weekend.
It does, mate.
Let's have a look at transfer targets then for this week. And I must say, Rich, my knees are a trembling this week. I've got the Huang disease where I'm ready to move heaven and earth to bring a player or two in this week. Because as I mentioned earlier, I mean, there's a couple of players on this. Like, I don't like Cole Palmer home to Burnley, frightens me to death. He is back in form, albeit their penalties. He's on penalties. This is why I don't rely on non-pen XG when picking plays, because P is a real thing. I don't own Semenyo. I don't own João Pedro. And these players are scaring me this week. And from what I said earlier, you're in the same boat.
I don't own any of these guys. So that's one of the reasons they're on the chart. I mean, Palmer, it was very fortunate. Those two João Pedro penalties, just sort of floats into the penalty and tumbles over like a girl in a field. I don't know, just like it's like
Like a
crazy.
lamb in a meadow.
Exactly. I mean, crazy penalties. Very fortunate. That's 3 penalties in 2 games for Palmer, plus a goal from open play, plus a massive missed chance to win the game right at the end, wasn't there?
Yeah, it
On
was
the
incredible.
line to get the
Incredible.
hat trick. So, yeah, he's dangerous. I think if you own Palmer this week, go for it on the captaincy.
Captain, 100%.
All the way.
Ooh.
But bring him in. Make 2 transfers to bring him in. That's a different story with their fixtures turning
Fixtures are tough
after
next
this.
week onwards, aren't they? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard for me to get to him. I think if you were still sitting on Saka and hadn't sold him, it would be an easy move. Maybe you can get there from Bruno Fernandes for him if you bought Bruno late. That could be bridgeable. But yeah, Palmer, he's still a real differential out there. The one I thought that Scott might put in the foreground actually is Thiago. I mean, Thiago's fixtures now hasn't done a huge amount. You've held him all the way through, haven't you? You never left your team. He was probably one of the worst transfers out for me of the season. I sold him for Ekitike back at Christmas, and Ekitike, apart from 1 week, has done very little. Thiago went on a run as soon as I sold him, scoring double-figure returns 3 or 4 weeks in a row. I think that there's at least 1 or 2 hauls coming from Thiago before game week 32. And if you can get to him this week, even as your 3rd striker, I think you should try and have a look at combinations there. He's the one I'm scared of not owning. I can get to him in 2 moves, and I am considering it.
Wow, okay, interesting.
Yeah, I do think he sort of completes the puzzle for me. I think for up to game week 31. If you just look at his fixtures, I can't even get to his fixtures easily, Fergie, but just read them out for the next 5 because they are outstanding. Brentford's fixtures.
Yeah, I'll find them now. Hang on. Brentford, home to Brighton, away to Burnley, away to Bournemouth, home to Wolves, away to Leeds.
Yeah,
don't get much better than that.
No, that's pretty good. So, I mean, each one of the guys we've got on here really is a bit of a placeholder for other options in their team. You know? So, if you wanted, it's easier to get a mid in, then Sharda and Dango are both excellent options. I mean, Dango, I think, is starting Ramadan. There's a bit of gossip about him not being available for games due to Ramadan, but I don't think it's stopped Salah before from starting games, so I don't know. Make of that what you will. But Brentford options are good for the coming weeks. Then on the other side, we've got. I think if I hear Scott correctly, that is James Hill. That isn't actually Rayan, who I asked to be put on there. I don't think we've got an image from Rayan, so we could put a number of different Bournemouth options in for this week. So Rayan's a new winger that's been brought in for Bournemouth. I think he's returned in his first 3 matches, including a couple of great goals. And I think he makes an excellent enabling option, particularly if you are maybe trying to get to Thiago. Enable some cash from a downgrade, then he's great to bring in. But James Hill also has been outscoring Senesi at the back. He's been a DEFCON monster over the last few weeks. He's getting assists now, and he's only just increased from 3.9 to 4 million. So he's another option. Now I'm thinking of maybe selling Timber, and Timber to Hill to give the money for Thiago is a nice combination of moves there. So really like James Hill, really like Rayan, and I believe you said Tavernier might be coming back as well. Did you? Is that right?
Well, he's back. He's back on the predicted points. He might be back in the next week or 2. So I've just held him all the way through. One because the fixtures were so good, and 2 because he was cheap. So I'm hoping he comes back. It gives me an extra option.
Yeah. So Bournemouth look great as well, and then we've got Wirtz in the middle there. Been living up to his early season hype in recent weeks, hasn't he? He's been doing really, really well, starting to tick over and score consistently. 150 million euro player, and he's starting to play like it and look like it. So again, if you are a little bit scared of the Liverpool fixture run, you don't have the money or don't want to go to Ekitike, then Wirtz looks like a really good bet for the coming weeks. Maybe you want to come off Declan Rice. Maybe you want to start downgrading your Arsenal players. Then Rice to Wirtz looks like a really nice move to consider. And then I'm going to let you talk about Semenyo because I can't think of anyone better place to do so.
Well, he's scared to death, and I just think, we knew at Bournemouth he was a fantastic player, and he's taken that onto Man City. And I think actually he's helped change the way Man City plays, taking a lot of the goal scoring burden off Haaland, and I think he's sort of everything that Man City wanted out of some of their failed sort of transfers. But he's just so dangerous, and he's absolute class, and he's in there. He's in that 6-yard box. He's on the penalty spot. He's just everywhere. And every time I watch him, I don't own him. I think, why don't I own this guy? I just can't have a life. Why I don't own him? Obviously, we've like with Rice having the double, Enzo having the fixtures, Bruno being in the form he's been in, we've kind of not really had room for him almost. And then there was this 31 thing, which kind of just made him out of sight, out of mind. But every time I watch him, and he's also a 90-minute man as well to boot. He's so dangerous, and I think I'm bringing him in this week because I just feel like I don't want 1 week in 5 game weeks time to potentially miss out on. I think he can score up to 30 odd points as he has been doing. The fixtures are really good as well. He's like going to play every game. He's fit as a fiddle. I mean, what's not to like? If it was game week 1, Rich, he'd be in everyone game week 1 team, I think. But it's
one of the first people on him when you got out the traps, with your bench boost and roaring away. Your first transfer was Semenyo, and I sold him just before his move and thought he would spend some time on the bench. Thought it'd take some time to integrate, and he's just come straight in and been fantastic. So really like Semenyo as a pick, particularly if you are low on game week 31 blankers. I think it makes a lot of sense if you're brave enough to sell Arsenal players after their blip. Why not bring him in? I mean, the other thing is City have had a nice rest this week. They haven't had any football, any matches, and Newcastle have just been to Azerbaijan. They did win 6-1, and they've now won 3 on the bounce. So maybe aren't as much of a pushover as people think they are. But you've got a fancy City with a week's rest and a home game there to beat Newcastle this weekend.
I think so. Just looking, he's also, and this, even though this should maybe be a factor, Rich, but he's also 50% owned. So half of the game own him on top of everything else.
No wonder that hurt last week when he scored.
Exactly, right? He's 50% owned, and his last 4 games, he got 8 points home to Wolves, 7 points away to Spurs, 2 points away to Liverpool, which you can forgive, and then 14 points at home to Fulham. Scored 3 goals and 1 assist in his last 4 games. His XG and XA are pretty good as well, and I can't get away from it, Rich. He just feels to me like I'd be overthinking it if I didn't bring him in just to bring in someone else. For games.
Okay. So we'll get on to transfers later, but if you were coaching someone's team, which do you think over the next 5 weeks, where we're focused here, is the more important to own, Thiago or Semenyo?
Semenyo.
Really, you think over Thiago?
Without a doubt. Like, it's not even close for me. Just having a look at Thiago and his fixtures. So he's 30% owned, which is decent, but Semenyo is 50% owned. Semenyo is basically scoring every single game he plays for Man City, and he plays for the best team in the country. And the fixtures are primed as well, which are Thiago's. I understand that, but it's not even close for me, Rich. Like, it's not even close. But yeah, ideally both, but
yeah, well, maybe Ekatike to Thiago and someone else to Semenyo is what I'll do. I don't know.
I'm thinking of taking out Rice because Arsenal's fixtures toughen up now. I mean, he does okay, and obviously, I was very fortunate. Was it game week 20 or something when he got the 2 goals? But other than that, he hasn't done an awful lot. I mean, he's blanked an awful lot in the last few. So his scores in the last few weeks, he got 17 points in game week 20. And since then, he's got 3-3, 1-3, 5-5, 9. That's just nothing to be scared. That's like Elliot Anderson numbers. I'm not scared of him. So
fair enough. Okay. Well, you've been benching him, haven't you? So I expect you.
Just not bothered for Rice.
You'll enjoy Semenyo continuing your.
It does also mean that I'm using all my transfers, and so next week when I want to make some changes, I'm probably gonna have to take a hit. So we'll discuss that maybe a little bit later. Just looking at predicted points for the next 4 game weeks. Haaland is top just 27, Salah, and I'd echo your point, Rich, about Wirtz and just Liverpool in general. They really, really seem to have turned the corner. I think it's kind of coincided with Salah coming back, but they seem much tighter at the back, and they just seem to, to be beating teams comfortably. I mean, that win away to Sunderland 2 midweeks ago, was it last midweek, to me was pretty unexpected. Actually, I expected Sunderland to beat them, but they beat Sunderland away, which no one's managed to do all season.
Yeah.
They showed real steel. So players like Wirtz, Salah, Van Dijk, Ekitike, I still think it holds, and I think that they'll look good. And Liverpool's fixtures, actually, just to touch briefly on their fixtures. Forest away this week, then they're home to West Ham, away to Wolves, home to Spurs, away to Brighton. But their fixtures do go on and on, Liverpool's as well. So I told the Liverpool players. Where were we? Salah. So then Bruno third in 24, Thiago 23, to your point, Ekitike 23, Rice 23, Palmer 23, and then a step down to Gabriel and Mbeumo, Semenyo, and Enzo, all on the 20-point mark. Gehi, Gakpo, and Dai. Adley, interestingly, makes a showing in at 5.4. The Bournemouth mid, who's been playing well and scoring. Fixtures obviously really, really good. So yeah, they're the predicted points for this week. I'm scared of Palmer and João Pedro this week, Rich. I'm sure João Pedro's his ownership is ridiculous as well. 46% João Pedro.
Yeah.
So last week we didn't have a 50% owned 14-pointer or a 46% owned 10-pointer last week, Rich. And that's why we had red arrows.
Yeah,
with those.
but yeah, it is. Yeah, I mean, look, we were all selling João Pedro earlier in the season because he just wasn't taking any shots. Apparently, last week he had 7 shots in the Chelsea game. So clearly, he's getting on well with Rosenior. They've struck up a good rapport. They're having a good player to manager banter, and he's going to keep picking him on this form. So he is streaky, João Pedro. So if you get on him for a streak, he won't be season long keeper, but it's just too late. I think you needed to get on him at the beginning of that 4-fixture run, and now we've got 1 game left. And if you've got Enzo was still putting up great expected numbers in the last game. He just didn't do the points, and so you may well get a haul out of Enzo this week, and it's not really worth switching off Enzo to Palmer or moving off your Chelsea assets. I can't even get to Palmer because I've got Mark Gu on my bench taking up the 3rd spot, so he's been a nightmare, bench warmer or whatever, so I couldn't even do it anyway. So I think it's a bit too late to move to Pedro or Palmer, unless you are flush with transfers and you have 4 or 5 and want to go.
I do agree. Just a final point on the ownership. Haaland is topping the game, 67.8. Semenyo second, and João Pedro is third. That's owned in the whole game, Rich. That's why we got an absolute pummeling.
Well, pasting, yeah,
we did. Let's have a look at Hub AI best Gameweek 27 wildcard team. You can view this yourself anytime. It is dynamic. You can view it yourself, fantasyfootballhub.co.uk. Free 7-day trial in the link below. But how it's looking at the moment, Sanchez in goal with Kelleher, and then Munoz, Lacroix, Gabriel, Senesi, and Anderson. So a good-looking back 5. And then Palmer captain this week, Enzo, Bruno Fernandes, Declan Rice, and Brian Mbeumo. And then Thiago, Ekitike, and Krupa Jr. Interestingly, no Haaland
no Semenyo, based on you talking him up. So that must be due to the flag on Haaland, right?
It's due to the flag on Haaland, but it's also due to the fact that there's a 5-week horizon. So this also takes into account points for Gameweek 31. So they blank. So if we were to put the chip strategy in here of wild cards in 32, it would probably change. But
right, but it still picked 2 Palace players.
It did, yeah. But I think I think they rotate with Bournemouth in terms of.
That's right. Yeah, you can bench them. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, no, I see. No, I like the team for this week. I mean, the team looks fantastic for this week. I'm a little bit surprised at the still going 3 Chelsea with just that one really favourable fixture.
Agree with
fixture left. I'd probably save the money on Senesi. I mean, I own Senesi now, but he hasn't done anything since I bought him. His DEFCONs have dried up, and Hill's been getting them all. So I'd probably go Hill over Senesi for an 8.8
I would
saving.
I would agree with that.
I'd probably go to your point. I'd probably go Semenyo now over Rice. Just if I was wild carding. I think you've given a good business case for him. I'd have one Palace, maybe even not two, given the fact I've got to sell them in game week 31. But other than that, not surprised at Thiago, not surprised at Ekatike. Krupi, a little bit unsure about Krupi's minutes. Seems to be getting taken off a lot and maybe didn't start the last one. So I don't know. That third striker spot is a tricky one because you've got to manage through game week 31. I might just go for someone like Raul Jimenez in there or something, try and stretch the capital to do that. But it's a good team. Yeah,
like that. And the best free hit team this week. I hate looking at these teams. It reminds me of the players I haven't got. But Martinez home to Leeds, and then Munoz, Lacroix, and Gabriel. Then Palmer captain, Enzo, Bruno Fernandes, Rice, and Semenyo, and then João Pedro and Thiago. That is the nice, free hit team.
That looks really nice. So that's absolutely. I love this. This has worked really well, hasn't it? You know, where people have free hit this season, where they've stacked on 3 or 4 teams.
Yeah,
you just see that pile on, like for that Burnley fixture is there, isn't it? It's every all that. It's just like we were with the double game week for Arsenal, I guess. But it's just the pile on with Burnley. You've still got a couple of you got the 2 Palace defenders going for the clean sheet against Wolves. Semenyo, he's obviously been listening. The algorithm's been listening to you on Semenyo. So it's good. I like the free hit more than the wild card actually this week.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, same.
But
same
too valuable to use it though. Really, isn't it?
I'm looking forward to getting past this week, just in terms of no Palmer, no João Pedro. They scare me to death this week. Let's just hope Burnley put up a real fight in it, only kind of 1-0 or something, but we will see. Fergie is a punt for game week 27, so I'm cheating a bit this week because I did bring him in last week, but I still think he's a really, really nice. I was trying to target the fixtures for this week. Obviously, Chelsea home to Burnley, and everyone knows about all the Chelsea player. We all know Palmer, João Pedro, and that will be popular this week. But the other plum home fixture, if you can call it plum, is Palace home against Wolves. And the way that things have happened with Mateta maybe going, and now is he going to have surgery? Is he not? Looks like he's not going to have surgery, but he's not in the squad this evening, so it looks like this chap is safe for another week or two. But Jørgen Strand Larsen home to Wolves this week, I think is a really good punt for this week. I actually think he's. I don't know what you think, Rich, but was it last year he was a bit of like an FPL darling? He was just doing really well for what? I can't remember if it was last year or last year.
Last year he was a little bit in really Cunha's shadow, but I think he scored either 14 or 16 goals for Wolves. He did score a lot of goals. Yeah,
he's a nice player, and always thought he's a good player. Bought by Palace, has coincided with Mateta not being available, and as I mentioned at the start of the show, just a number 9 playing for a good team with a good home fixture. There's always an opportunity for him to score some points. So I lucked out a bit against Burnley, maybe, and that I probably wouldn't have gone for him. I would have gone for Sarr, but he looked good. He's a good finisher. He was also very unlucky not to score the week before. I think Munoz put in a good ball, and the keeper made a good save. So he's there or thereabouts. He's playing this evening against Zrinski in the cup, and I just think that he's going to go and score against his former.
I think you're looking very good for over 20 points from those 2 weeks there, mate. And you never know, he might still have a fixture in game week 31, and he'll still be of use. So
imagine that, Rich. Imagine how spunky I would be if I brought in Semenyo, and I've got
and then
double
they get their fixture,
Arsenal, and then their fixture is confirmed. That would be
that would be fantastic for you. Yeah, no, good. Well, you're due a bit of good luck, and I think he's the ideal player to own while everybody else doesn't. And most people are sort of thinking, how do I get Thiago in my front line? And I think he's a really good pick, mate. Yeah, good luck this week.
Rich against the machine. Who you going for?
Right. Well, it's so long ago since we did one of these, but my pick last time was Dominic Szoboszlai. So if you remember, after that, they then played in that ridiculous game against City when he scored that absolute worldie of a free
Screamer.
kick again,
Unbelievable.
and then ran up the other end and tugged Haaland's shirt and got himself sent
It was,
off.
wasn't it?
So he didn't play the game after that. So basically, it was like. Yeah, he got 8 points, I think. He still managed to get a couple of bonus points despite getting
Yeah.
sent off. So I'll count that one as a win. But this week I've gone for somebody that's already got you some points in other formats of the fantasy game. He is the second highest scorer in the European Champions League, only behind Kylian Mbappe, now ahead of Harry Kane, Robert Lewandowski, various other prolific strikers. Not such a great record this season in the Premier League. I've owned him already for some very frustrating periods, but he scored 4 goals, Palmer-esque, last night in the first half against Qarabag. My pick for this week, with only 3.9 expected points, is Anthony Gordon.
Yeah.
Tough game against City, but Newcastle just won 6-1. They've won 3 on the bounce, despite losing Bruno Guimaraes to injury. And I think the pressure is easing slightly on Eddie Howe. I think they're going to cruise through. They're now so far ahead that next week's playoff they can afford to rotate for that Qarabag second leg. And so they'll go full strength against City this week. Sure to be on pens for that match. I think I'll come out ahead with just 3.9 expected there. What do you think?
I like that. Yeah. No, I definitely agree, and I would also add that he looks like he's playing up front at the moment, which is, obviously he's been playing out wide and coming off early and stuff, which which has resulted in a lot of your frustrations. But looks like he's playing up front. I think Voltemade played behind him yesterday, and since he's made that switch, I mean, 4 goals on pens. He did, he didn't he take the ball off someone last night?
He had a little bit of a tiff with Trippier at half time. I think Trippier was captaining the team and wanted him to maybe give some goal share to Voltemade and let him take the 3rd penalty or something. Gordon already had his hat trick, and he was just no, give it to me. I'm the penalty taker.
Love it.
And he just, he's that's what you want to see, isn't it?
Being the top scorer in the Champions League, absolutely incredible. So yeah, no, I agree, Rich. I think he's looking a new sort of player at the moment. I think playing up front as well. The fixtures are okay. They've got 3 of the next 5 at home as well. I think he's good. I think you finally now get the returns. Everyone
now I don't know.
Bloody sold him. Exactly that. FPL in a nutshell.
Exactly.
Captain this week, and we've got a bit of a runaway captain according to predicted points. Anyway, I would say Haaland is flagged in here at 75%, so you can add another 25% on. So if you think that Haaland's going to play, I think he was pictured today. Scott said in training pictures, or Ollie said rather, sorry, in training pictures. It looks like he's going to be fit, Haaland. But Palmer 7.4 predicted points. Enzo behind on 6.2. Then Bruno Fernandes and João Pedro. So absolutely dominated by the Chelsea players. Haaland. Like I say, he is flagged at the moment, so he will probably go up to something like 7 points, so he'll be close up to Palmer. Just looking at the poll, which Scott ran, there was 105 votes. Haaland 60%. Interestingly, wow. Palmer only 23. Bruno Fernandes 11%. So, what are your thoughts, Rich, on the captaincy? Objectively, if you had Palmer,
if I had Palmer, I'd 100% captain him. Absolutely,
100%.
No doubt about it. But it's good to see Enzo up there. It's good to see Bruno up there, because actually I think the vice captain is quite important this week. Pet will probably be a little bit cloak and dagger over whether Haaland is available. We'll go into that not quite knowing if he's fit. So you want a good vice captain, and that's a harder pick if you don't own Palmer this week. So I probably would just put it on Bruno Fernandes, just due to his routes to points, but that's just being safer. They've got a tough fixture away to Everton. You never know what you're going to get when you get with Everton. And they've put up they've lost a few heavy defeats at home, like 4-0, but they've also put up some very strong battling performances. So you don't know what you're going to get there. It's tough. That's why I kind of like your Semenyo pick. If you had Semenyo, you could just vice it on Semenyo, knowing he'd be the main man if Haaland was out. So I think if you get Semenyo in, he'd be a good vice for you. But yeah, tough. Where's Semenyo on here? Oh, he's about halfway down. He's actually ahead of
Yeah,
Haaland.
yeah,
Look. Yeah, yeah.
5.4, but behind Rice. Interestingly enough, is obviously Rice has the DEFCON sort of thing in his armory as well, doesn't he? So
He won't have to do much defending against Tottenham, though, will he?
no. New manager bounce, mate. You never
Well,
know.
apparently, and I only heard this on another piece of content. It was, he's a bit of a bus parker. This new manager. That's the only thing I've heard about him so far. Is he? To dare is to do, eh?
I dare to park the bus.
Yeah, exactly.
Goodness me. What a travesty, Rich. Just a second. Just on Spurs and getting to a Champions League final and finishing. Was it? I can't remember if it was second or third in the league in 2018, which for Spurs is unheard of, absolutely unheard of. And then they have a bit of a bad run at the start of the next season, and they sack Pochettino. And look at the managers that they have brought in since, and the football they've played for the last 7 years has been fucking dross. Conte, Mourinho, and just all these people up until now, and now they're on about potentially going back to Pochettino. How embarrassing is it to go back 7 years because you realise that, no doubt they'll say, oh, he's matured as a manager and all this crap. He was the person to stick with at the time. I honestly still think, Rich, it was the biggest managerial sacking travesty.
A bad one, wasn't it? Because he was loved by the fans. He was loved by the fans, and some of the football they were playing in that run up to that final was fantastic. You had great players at the time. You had Bale. You had what was that guy who got the hat trick in the semi-final? Lucas Moura. Yeah, fantastic. There's some great players, wasn't there, at that point? But hey, we don't know. Maybe we're doing him damage, and it'll be they'll win the derby, and it'll be off to a flyer. You never know. But yeah, well, let's see.
As long as we stay up. So my son's Cardiff season ticket holders, and at the moment it looks like they might be going home to watch Cardiff against Spurs next season, because Cardiff will be coming up from League One, and Spurs
easy
coming down. For you. It is, and go watch Spurs on a 20-minute train. Nice one from at Surreal McCoy's. Today is Tudor. I like that. Very good. Good stuff. Let's have a look at clean sheets and goal projections for Gameweek 27. So top of the goals, Chelsea are predicted to score 2.82 goals. They're also top of the clean sheets. The clean sheets. Rich, you'll be pleased to know, being a Sanchez owner, you'll be happy with that, wouldn't you? Very good.
Yeah.
Man City second with 2.43 goals, and Arsenal third, 2.08. Clean sheets I mentioned. Chelsea also top of the clean sheets, and 39% for both Arsenal and Palace. So I'm quite happy to have my my Arsenal and Palace defenders in there. Yeah. And then Villa top clean sheets at home against Leeds. So Chelsea, triple Chelsea is the way to go. And we've got one.
Well,
and
I've got two. Rich. I've got two. Yeah, it's okay. Look, Enzo's been a little bit quiet recently, but I fancy him to get some returns. And hopefully, if they can keep a clean sheet, he'll cover some of the Palmer and Pedro points that are due there. But yeah, does look good for Chelsea this week.
Scary one.
Looks good for City. When you see a chart like this and it's got 3 fixtures like that above 2 goals, you start thinking it's going to be a high-scoring game week, don't you? Because they're teams that people own a lot of players for, so we could have 80, 90 pointers this week. Yeah, interesting.
We'll see.
Good, looks good for Palace as well for your two. I think your Palace will do well this week.
We'll see. Rich, got your team up now for the week. Do you want to run through it with your thoughts and plans?
Yeah, Sanchez, as we said, in goal. I've got my 2 Arsenal players that most people own, Timber and Gabriel. I'm probably going to persevere with Arsenal for a little bit longer in defence. At the moment, this graphic's playing both Senesi and Anderson in a 4-4-2. I want an update on Matty Cash. He was only supposed to be out for the game last week in the Newcastle fixture. If he is back, I will probably play him at Leeds at home and bench the other 2 defenders, probably Senesi over Anderson, and I will play Harry Wilson in a 3-5-2 away at Sunderland. That's just what I fancy doing rather than playing. I like Senesi and Anderson. I think I've got Senesi, Anderson, and Cash. I mean, if I can get away with not making a defensive transfer between now and the wild card, I will try and do that. But the issue is it gives me a bit of a bench headache every week. You know, which Def Connor do you play? You know, which do you play an attacking player over that? But actually, I don't find that playing these mid-price defenders in away games often results in many points. You know, they're better off. You're better off playing the one that's playing at home. So I think that just sways me to go Cash ahead of the other ones. I don't think Cash will be benched. I think he'll either play or he won't play.
Or won't. Agree with that.
And then I play Wilson in a 5-man midfield. Keep the midfielders I've got. I do like your point about Semenyo, but I'll probably keep Declan Rice. I bought him and sold him 3 times already in the last couple of months. I think if I sell him again, people will think I've gone mad. Haaland, I think, will be okay, and Ekatike out front. I would like to get Thiago in. I'm not sure what the transfer suggestion that Scott's going to put up in a minute for me is, but there it said no transfer. Okay, mate. Yeah, so cool. I ran a little simulation earlier in the week on my team, and it suggested I could sell Timber to Goodmanson, and that would give me the money to do Mark Gu up to Thiago, and then would allow me to go 3-4-3 with a big bench headache every week between now and the end of the game week 31, because if theoretically any one of my players would have a good fixture. My Fulham players obviously have good fixtures now. The Bournemouth player has good fixtures. Villa have good fixtures. So I would have, you know, a very strong bench potentially every week if I did that. It's just putting me off doing it slightly and making me think I'll roll instead for 3 free transfers next week.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I like it how James in the chat has put, I'm sticking double Arsenal defence only because they're off to see Dr. Tottenham, and this is the thing, is just Spurs are so bad. But I think he would be the one I would lose out of all of them.
Well, I've got to lose. I've only got 4. So the team's all right from point of view of blank exposure.
Yeah,
but I would lose Timber before the other 3.
I don't think it's worth 2 transfers. To basically all you're doing is a Timber to Thiago swap there, aren't you?
Yes.
That's not worth
2 free transfers.
That's not worth 2 free transfers, I don't think. No. If you look at it that way. So I'd probably leave if that's
Timber's not really doing very much though, is he? You know, he's expensive, and it sort of threatens to get this 23 pointer that he got in game week 2, but he never does it, does he?
No, I do agree.
Cleaned through against Brentford and made a right ash of it, didn't he? So I think I wouldn't mind selling him, but like it's taken me so long to get a double Arsenal defence, having run most of the season with only 1. I'm just sort of not quite ready to throw it away again yet. So I think I'll just roll.
I think you're good there, mate. I think you're looking good.
Yeah.
Quick look at my team. I'm probably over got Petrovic away to West Ham, or Dubravka. My goalkeeper woes are still there. I'm not expecting any kind of clean sheets this week, but I'll probably play Petrovic just because Bournemouth have improved defensively of late. According to the AI, I should play Munoz, Gabriel, and Mukiele home to Fulham. And it tells me to bench both Timber and Anderson, which is interesting.
Bench Timber, wow.
Bench Timber ahead of Mukiele. And then 4 midfield of Enzo, Bruno, Rice. I would say the AI loves Rice. And Rodgers at home to Leeds. And then a front 3 of Thiago, Haaland, and Strand Larsen.
It's like a free hit team, that, isn't it? It's fantastic. What's the rating on that? It looks fantastic.
It's 90% for
only 90
this week. Yeah, yours is 89, Rich. It's not
too bad.
But I've got a strong bench. I'm definitely going to bench some points, but I've got one free transfer. I've got 1 million in the bank. I'm quite happy actually because it looks like Tavernier might be coming back just ahead of that nice little run for Bournemouth. So he might be a nice little option in a couple of weeks' time. But my plan was to save this week. So when I was doing the Munoz and Strand Larsen double transfer, my plan was to basically go back almost straight away, not this week, but next week, because I do think that Liverpool's fixtures are really good, and I think Ekitike can still do really well. So my plan was to go straight back and do Munoz down to Hill for Bournemouth. This is next week now, which would enable Strand Larsen straight back to Ekitike, which I think is fine. But then I still haven't got Semenyo, and I really, really, really want Semenyo.
It's a Wang moment.
it's a Wang moment, and as much as Rice is he's a good hardcore FPL player, similar to Elliot Anderson in that he
Defcons a lot,
chugs along doing
assists
quite small amounts.
Yeah.
It just doesn't excite me. It doesn't excite me. Whereas Semenyo, every time I don't own my scores, I can't think of why don't I own like one of the best players in the league. Their fixtures are really good. So my current thinking is I could either roll out this 11, which is a really good 11, but I don't own 50% owns Semenyo, or 46% owns João Pedro. So it doesn't really, and this is my thinking off the back of last week, Rich. I expect both of them to do really well this week. And if they do well, it doesn't matter what my team does, I'm still getting a red arrow. And that's my thinking with EO. And I know you shouldn't play to EO. I'm not playing EO because I'm scared of him, because there are other players which are highly on which I'm not that scared of. But Semenyo's just such a good asset.
I've been trying to play this way since the wildcard, and I got given 5 free transfers and a wildcard in Gameweek 16, and I've been trying to cover key players for key fixture runs. It just hasn't been working. I mean, there's no reason why Rodgers can't outscore Semenyo this week for you. There's no reason why Rice against a sieve of a defence at Tottenham can't get a double figure haul. Honestly, your team looks fantastic, and given the value of transfers and the flexibility that having 2 will give you over 1, I would strongly be advising a roll here, mate. I think I know I get your point on Semenyo, but they're playing Newcastle. They're not Burnley, and I think you're fine. Why would you not want 2 transfers going forward?
Ekitike, where is he? I just having a look at how much I've got. I've got 500,000. No, I can't do it. I was wondering if I could hold on to Enzo one more week and then do him to Semenyo next week.
You could do Enzo to Rayan or Dango, and then you've got then Semenyo. Or do Enzo to Semenyo.
Doesn't really work. I need to get rid of Rice, really, but I'll have a think. About it all. But
you just need to be careful with those 2 Palace players, because you've got, you're at the upper levels of blankers there that I've seen.
Yes, no, I definitely agree with that, and that's why Rice to Semenyo also made a bit of sense for me. I'm not scared of Rice. That's the problem, because if he scores 5 points, I was like, yay, Rice 5. I just don't play that way. I can't get excited by that.
No.
We will see anyway. But at the moment, my thinking is Rice to Semenyo, and then next week is a different week.
It's all about Liverpool. You'll want Verts next week. Yeah,
I'm very likely to be taking a hit, but we'll see. Good stuff. That is it from us for this week. Thanks to everyone who joined in the chat. Those who are going to watch it back and those listening on the podcast version, your support, as usual, is very, very much appreciated. Thank you to Rich. Where can people find you, Rich?
At Rich Clarke FPL on Twitter or X.
Good stuff. And also thank you to Scott pulling the strings behind the scenes. Great to have him back. Great to have him back. He saves me so much work, and he does such a fantastic job. So thank you very much, Scott. And my handle on X is at @Fergi_Fergi. So this podcast and video will be on the Fantasy Football Hub YouTube channel, and the podcast version is available on all major podcast platforms. If you like what you watched, please press the like button. Remember to subscribe to the channel. If you enjoyed your listen, please rate the podcast. Leave us 5 stars and a comment. We'd really, really appreciate it. We will be back next week, looking ahead to Game Week 28. In the meantime, we'll have a brilliant Game Week 27, and may all your arrows be green. Good night, all.